A very good afternoon to all our viewers and participants. I'm Dhaval Fukane, Head in Public Relations and your host for today. And I welcome you all to our webinar on environmental issues. Our campaign Rejuvenating Rashtra puts light on the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on social and economic fronts. This pandemic has affected people from all walks of life. So through this campaign, we provide a platform to address these issues and try to produce solutions on how we can overcome them on our level. Our guest speaker for today is a conservationist and a great personality who has worked hard for more than 20 years for wildlife conservation and has a key role and contribution for the same in India as well as internationally. On the behalf of the Social Welfare and Development Committee of VIT Pune, I welcome Mr. Kishor Rithe. Sir, we are very honored to have you on board today. Mr. Kishor Rithe is a computer science graduate. He has a PG diploma in international wildlife conservation practices from the University of Oxford. He is the author of 6 books and 7 scientific papers and has published 7 scientific papers in journals. He is the founder of the Satpuda Foundation, founded in 2001, which is India's leading NGOs working for wildlife and forest conservation. He is a governing council member of the Bombay Natural History Society and has worked as a trustee and a chairman on its conservation subcommittee. He has also worked with the National Tiger Conservation Authority. He is a former member of the National Board for Wildlife under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister of India and a member of its standing committee under the chairmanship of the Environment Minister of India. Mr. Kishor Rithe has been a conservation practitioner for over 20 years, working primarily in the forests of the central Indian Satpuda landscape. His main focus is on saving the tigers of India, for which he has worked for nearly 30 years and has worked for other umbrella species as well. He is also responsible for rediscovering endangered species like the forest owlet. He has more than 28 years of experience of working with a network of communities, government agencies, media, NGOs on research-based wildlife conservation actions. He also organizes international courses on how education can be used as a tool for species conservation and conservation biology and wildlife management, with focus on tigers in India. He has also assisted the government of Maharashtra to relocate 14 villages to tiger reserves. Mr. Kishor Rithe is the first TEDx speaker from Vidarbha, which was conducted in Mumbai in 2010, where he addressed the issue of conservation of tigers and how it is equivalent to saving people. At his time in London, while he was pursuing his PG diploma, he was invited to attend the Queen's Anniversary Prizes ceremony at Buckingham Palace in London in 2010. Sir, these honors and achievements that I mentioned are not enough to describe your immense contribution and service to environment and wildlife conservation on national as well as international level. We will be engaging in a conversation with Mr. Kishor Rithe, and I invite the audience to actively participate too. So let us commence for the moment we all have been waiting eagerly and begin with our webinar live and exclusive.
Thank you, Dhaval.
Yes. Sir, you did your graduation in computer science and later on you decided to contribute to
Forest
um, Mr. Kishore sir, am I audible? I think we have lost connection. Due to some technical issues that everyone faces, sir has got disconnected. He'll be back with us shortly. Yes, I guess sir has joined. Sir, am I audible? Sir, your mic is off.
Your internet is really bad today, so sorry.
Yes. Yes, no problem, sir. Yes, sir, you can continue.
So I said, means that's how we started some 30 years back. Means right from the small activity, means we are involved in a really huge, in a huge landscape. We start from Mandla to Western Ghats, because Satpuda landscape meets Western Ghats. So we are really working in a huge landscape today. So, but what I want to reiterate here, that when you start from the small activities, you really can think regarding the micro level activities, and you can really extend your activities to the larger landscape. So starting from small is very important.
Right, right.
Yes, Dhawan.
And yes, and that you also mentioned a very good point that you cannot just enjoy the beauty, but you have to conserve it as well. You have to conserve the beauty as well. I guess that is a very good point. And what started as an adventure to you has turned out to be an inspiration for all your work that you have done till now. I think that was a great initiative, the Nature Conservation Society that you started, and that is very appreciable. Then later on, in 2001, you started the Satpuda Foundation, which had all norms and works that you did at the Nature Conservation Society, but a bigger organization, that is the Satpuda Foundation. And like you said, you had a lecturer's job at an engineering college, and you quit your this step. And what challenges did you face later?
See, Dhaval, means frankly speaking, as a student, you are not serious about that you are going to start the non-government organization and stay into this field for next throughout your life. So I had started with that point when I started the Nature Conservation Society. But after 3 4 years, my entire batchmates, after completion of my computer engineering degree, rest of my batchmates, they just left abroad and joined some IT companies.
Hmm.
So for me also, I left Amravati city and joined Pune in ITR graphics company. Means it was a software. Now you prepare your visa, you go to UK and work as IT professional. So I said, oh, this is not my way. So I decided to return back to Amravati and join the engineering college, and same time continuing my work. So I worked for next 10 years constantly in this field, and got involved in many other activities, like I conducted a Save Satpuda campaign. So it was a long foot march. We started walking from Amravati and then reached to Pachmadi in Madhya Pradesh. So it was a long journey of around 15 days, but we started the journey from both the ends simultaneously so that we can finish the march in within a week. So that
Hmm.
we had done, and it had actually fetched the attention of the national media, because we discussed the issue of huge encroachments on forest areas, and
Hmm.
the national media really picked up that issue nationally, and
Hmm.
we could address that issue. And then later on, people started approaching us with many small and large issues. Like another next, the large issue that came to us that time was the illegal fishing activities going on in the Pench National Park. Pench
Hmm.
National Park is situated in Nagpur district, and all fish mafias used to just support around 3,000 fishermen and ask them to just camp within the national park during night, and do whatever. Means they used to poach the animals, etc. And there was a huge fish trade. So that second issue came, and then we fought that issue up to Supreme Court for next 3 years. So in 2000, because I was totally involved with all these activities, and I had no time for even the college activities. And I was very prompt in my job of lecturer in the engineering college. So it was very difficult for me to work on the both the platforms in the college as well as in the social sector. So I decided to leave this job and do full-time wildlife conservation. But let me tell you one very interesting story regarding this Pench National Park issue. I decided to now fight with the government on this issue in
Kishore, sir. Hello, sir. I think. Hello, Kishore, sir. I think we have lost connection again. Sir will rejoin shortly. Hello, sir. Am I audible now?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was telling you, means I filed the petition, and then that lawyer was asking me, what is your designation? I said, lecturer in Government Engineering College. So he said, you are class 1 officer, government officer, and you cannot fight with the government. So you just leave your job if you want to continue in this field. So only I decided that I cannot work in the government. So I have to leave the job. And so I get the job. But before that, I went to Africa because I decided that if I have to spend my whole life in wildlife conservation, so people would always ask me the question: "You are a computer engineer and you are not academically fit to work for wildlife conservation. So you should have some kind of academic qualification in this field." So I was selected by Smithsonian Institution, a world's renowned organization, for a special training in the forest of Uganda in Africa. So I went to leave the job permanently and start working on another assignment. So that's how I started the Satpuda Foundation very next year. And then I dreamed about the entire landscape. So whatever I did for 10 years in and around Melghat, so I decided to replicate it on a bigger canvas in the entire Satpuda landscape, which is spread in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh part. So that's how my journey continued further with the Satpuda Foundation.
Right. That is a very great journey. First, you started an initiative, and then when it started growing, people started approaching you with issues related to forests or the ones you mentioned. I think that is a very it was a great story. Recently, you were also appointed as a member of the MSBWL, that is the Maharashtra State Board for Wildlife, and a meeting was held just yesterday under the chairmanship of our honorary CM Uddhav Thackeray. And it was discussed in this meeting that there are total 314 tigers in Maharashtra. And out of those, 165 are in the Chandrapur district itself, which is more than 50% in just one district. So what measures have you decided to for a sustainable betterment?
Yeah, you have raised a very important issue, and it is just means the entire national and international media has covered this issue yesterday because there was a controversy involved in this particular subject. So, forest officers thought that, as you rightly said, that there are around 312 tigers in Maharashtra, and almost all the tigers are in Vidarbha, except three
Hmm.
tigers, 3 to 4 tigers in Sahyadri tiger reserve. So, rest of the tigers are only in Vidarbha. So out of these 314 tigers, the 50% tigers
Um, I think we have lost Sir again. We might face these technical issues more number of times because this rainy season has is the reason. I think he will connect just shortly again. Kishore sir, can you hear me? No, it is left. Viewers, just stay with us. Sir will join shortly. Yes, so has rejoined. So your mic is off.
yeah.
Yes.
So means more than 50 tigers, 50% tigers lies in Chandrapur district.
Right.
So uh, I just explained this situation that why the tigers are overcrowded in one district. If you
Mhm.
look at the adjoining Gadchiroli district, there is more geographical area, more forest area having no tigers. Means there is only one division in Gadchiroli district which is holding around 4 or 5 tigers.
Hmm.
Uh, by and large, the Gadchiroli district is empty, having good forest. And in Chandrapur district, there are 165 tigers. So why is the case? Why is such situation? Why tigers are not dispersing in Gadchiroli district
Hmm.
naturally?
Hmm.
So might be some corridors are fragmented, badly fragmented. The poachers are operating in the Gadchiroli district, and that's why whatever tigers try to go and grab the territory in Gadchiroli district, they are eliminated. So these may be the reasons. So unless we study these reasons, we cannot simply ask to just remove 50 tigers and send them to elsewhere and
Right.
or sterilize some 20 males in the area. So we decided that this is not a solution. So we have to think about it properly on a landscape basis and also discuss with some of the other experts. So government has decided to form a expert committee to think over this issue. But the issue is really very serious because from 2007 onwards, around 150 people have been killed by tigers. So tiger conservation is good, but we do not want people to be killed in tiger attacks. So definitely this issue needs to attend urgently.
Right. The fragmentation that a lot of tigers in one district, I guess that has to be strengthened. Maybe if they can be shifted to other reserves, I guess that is what you want to say. Uh, Also, we have been seeing that forests have been cut by deforestation for urbanization or building of roads and highways, which will directly or indirectly affect the wildlife and environment in that region. You were also involved in the Samruddhi Expressway project, that is the expressway from Nagpur to Mumbai, which is India's first linear project to incorporate wildlife mitigation measures. So, how has that decision helped conserve the environment and wildlife?
Yeah, it's very good question, Dhaval again. And you are all students, so I must tell you the truth. When I started in this field, I used to, because as a student, you know that this destruction is bad, so you have to stop this particular project, that particular project. So being a environmentalist and working with these two organizations, Nature Conservation Society and Satpuda Foundation. So I used to hate these kind of developmental projects, and so wherever the projects are really destroying the forest area, so I used to work for it to stop the projects and protect the particular tiger landscape or tiger area. But then slowly I got appointed on several government committees. Like I was honorary wildlife warden of Amravati district, had got responsibility to arrest poachers, etc. So I did that. But when I joined on the government, I started working on the government committees. A lot of such projects started coming, and let me tell you, the Ministry of Environment and Forest appointed me in the National Board for Wildlife. So it's a board, it's a highest board of the country, which design the wildlife policies for the country. So while working on this board, we used to get hundreds of proposals in 3 months, developmental projects. So all linear projects like railways, highways, transmission lines, canals, to mining projects, then the dams, ropeways, so these kind of projects. So how many projects you would stop? So you have to understand the other side of the
Sir will has been disconnected again. He will join shortly. Due to rains in Amravati and other districts, we will be experiencing such technical issues. And Sir has joined again.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, Dhaval.
Yes, sir.
So I started listening the side of project proponents, um, and I gained a lot of experience while working in the standing committee NBWL. Same time I was working in the state at the state level also, and the example which you have just now given, it's a state committee, state wildlife board, and chief minister is the chairperson of this committee. When this Samruddhi Expressway came, again we said this is going to have huge impact on the movements, because there are tigers in the Vidarbha landscape. They go from Tadaba Andhari Tiger Reserve to Boar Tiger Reserve, Boar Tiger Reserve to one tiger walker. There is a very interesting story. It started its journey from Tipeshwar Wildlife Sanctuary, and it went to Telangana, Kawal Tiger Reserve. Then it came back near Tipeshwar, went to Marathwada area. Then again it returned back and finally reached to Jnanaganga Wildlife Sanctuary in Buldhana district of Vidarbha in January. So since January, it is settled there. Now Member of Parliament from Buldhana is asking to bring one female for it. So it's very interesting. So now you can understand the animals are, means tiger is a wide-ranging cat. So it moves a lot. Yes. Overnight, it can go up to 100 kilometers. So we were very, very worried about Samruddhi, and we told Chief Minister that this project is going to actually cause a lot of damage to the environment, as well as it is going to be hurdle in the tiger movement and movements of other wild animals. So Chief Minister, I really salute to this guy. And he said, no, I understand, I share the same sentiments, and you people should come out with solutions. I have no problem in giving money for implementing those solutions. So the study was given to Wildlife Institute, and the technical committee was constituted. I was one of the members of this committee to see that the mitigation measures are properly planned and they are implemented effectively. And then we worked there. We planned. We went through to the entire stretch from Nagpur to Mumbai. There are some 4 protected areas in between. So we visited all the stretches, and finally we came out with the best mitigation measures for this particular project. And as Chief Minister said, you don't worry about the money. Whatever cost it requires, I am ready to pay. So that project was cleared with this condition that there would be mitigation measures. So this is India's first project, and I am sure rest of the states would definitely visit this project and see what kind of mitigation measures we have suggested there. So by say 2021, you will be able to use this road and reach to Nagpur from Mumbai within 7 hours. But same time, tigers would be crossing below you. So this is one project.
Yes. I think development is important, but at the same time, environment and forests, wildlife are as important as development. And like you said, that an alternative was suggested, and CM Uddhav Thackeray has been supportive with your decision. I think that is also great view he shared with yours. So that is very great. Sir, also in March in 2020, the new EIA draft, that is the Environment Impact Assessment draft, was introduced. And it was an improvisation to the old one, which had a number of flaws. But there are still a lot of negative impacts of the current draft, which has not been given a clearance. So, and it can also, it can pose a threat to wildlife and ecosystems. So what is your say in this? Okay. So will join us.
Yes, Dhaval.
Yes, yes. As I was saying that in March 2020, a new EI draft, that is the Environment Impact Assessment draft, it was introduced as an improvisation to the old one, which had a number of flaws. But the current one also has a lot of negative impacts, and it can pose a threat to wildlife and ecosystems. So, what is your say in this?
See, means I can give you a direct answer about to this question, but Your most of the branches are associated, means engineering branches are associated with this act. So let me tell you in detail. This notification is part of Environment Protection Act 1986. There is the Environment Protection Act, and when this act was brought in, that time there were several environmental issues facing to this country: air pollution, the issues of water pollution, the issues of environmental degradation, etc., the river pollution. And so a lot of people felt that the environmental legislation is not capable to handle or address all these issues. So the Environment Protection Act was brought in during 1986. But then later on, they issued first notification, the Environment Impact Assessment Notification in 1994. So that was the first notification. So let's understand why this Environment Protection Act notification 1994 was brought in. The government understood that there should be more people's participation in the whole issue. When you talk about environmental degradation or environmental damages, then it should not come only from the government. So government is one stakeholder, but there are several other stakeholders like the local communities. Suppose you are putting some cement factory in near one village. So villagers are the first stakeholders. Okay, so you have to talk to them. Because whatever developmental project you are planning, it will definitely have first impact on the villagers which are situated very close to that particular project. So government thought that there should be larger people's participation, and that's why this notification was brought. So it was not very comprehensive notification, but later on they amended it and brought the Environment Act notification in 2006. So that was more comprehensive, which had given categories. Let me tell you the categories: category A projects, B project, C project. So that was brought in. So A project means mining projects kind of thing. They were placed in A category project. So the projects which are more damaging sort of thing to the environment. And B project, C project. Then there is a provision. I am talking about this Environment Act notification 2006. You have to, because now what criticism is going on right now regarding this notification 2020. So to understand this issue, you need to compare it with the 2006 notification. Okay, so that's why I am telling you about 2006 notification. So the category of projects. One thing. Second, the clearance mechanism. There used to be the committee called Expert Appraisal Committee, EAC, sitting in Delhi, deciding these projects. Okay, so the category A projects would go to the central government committee, like the EAC, Expert Appraisal Committee, sitting in Delhi. Then category B and other projects would come to the state level. So there was another committee at the state level, State Expert Appraisal Committee, SEAC. Okay, so there used to be two committees. Now, when this notification draft is now brought in the public domain, so there is another committee at the district level. So what this draft says, that now even you don't have to go to the state level, you can just decide certain things at the district level. Okay, why? Ease of doing business. That means the clearance process should not be lengthy. It should not take much time, like 3 months, 4 months, etc. On one hand, it is okay. For the project proponent, it is okay. But this act was not brought for the project proponent. This act was brought for addressing the environmental issues. So whether your environmental issues are addressed properly by diluting this particular act. So that's why the word called dilution. People call it, means environmentalists call it dilution of the EP Act, and subsequently the previous notification which was brought in 2006. So what is it? So by bringing this next committee at the district level, ultimately your projects would be resolved at the district level. And you know how these committees are composed, how these committees are constituted, and how people simply ignore the environmental damages and its consequences. Okay, so it's very serious issue. Even the tribunals which are set up, there are no judges working in the tribunals. So how can you get the justice for the environmental damages? Okay, so forget about these committees. So we are objecting to that. The state level committee and the central government committee, these two committees were okay. Then whatever projects were previously in A category, they are now brought in category B. Why? So I will give you one example. Like
Yeah.
suppose minor minerals, and if you want some regarding minor minerals, if you have more than 100-hectare area involved, minor minerals means the mineral, not coal, but rest of the minerals. Okay, minor minerals. So if you require more than 100-hectare area, then ultimately um, the 2006 proposal said if larger than 50 hectare, then it is category A.
Hmm.
Now,
I think Sir has been disconnected again. He will join us shortly. Viewers, please stay with us, and Sir will join shortly. If viewers have any questions you want to ask to Sir, you can comment your questions in the YouTube live comment section, and we will ask those to Sir. Yes, Sir. Sir
yes,
has
Dhawan.
joined us.
So I said what was considered to be more serious in 2006 notification, this notification calls it moderate. So what?
Hmm.
Where is the gravity of seriousness? Okay, so these issues now today, where the world, entire world is facing COVID-19 pandemic, and the crisis came out as a fallout of this situation. So we should be more serious now. We should not. So that's why we are calling it. It is diluted. So there are n number of examples. Like you can consider the national highway. Now, in case of national highway, if you want to build 100-kilometer national highway, and the ROW, the width of the road, or the right of the way is 70 meter, then it was called category A project. Okay. Now, sorry. If it is 30 kilometer and 20-meter ROW, then it was a category A project. Now they are saying if you build, your project is 100-kilometer, means national highway or the expressway, and it requires ROW 70 meter, that should be only called A category project. So it's simply dilution. Means from these three examples you can make out they are simply diluting it. So it is better if we go ahead with 2006 notification rather than working on this, adopting this 2010 notification.
Right. I think I have seen a number of videos, and the new draft that hasn't been given clearance, the 2020 draft, the public can share their opinions and what they would like to add in the draft, and which can be mailed to the government. So, what points should the public and our viewers, if they wish to support their views and contribute to the act, the draft. So, what do you think the public should add to the mail they will be sending?
See, your question is from the perspective of public participation,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
and the public grievance. So as far as public grievance is concerned, 2006 notification was okay, and
Right.
public was quite happy. If you talk about the mining projects, if you talk about the dam project or the linear intrusion project, so
Mhm.
public by and large were happy. Means there
Okay.
was a redressal mechanism. Now you see this act say post facto clearance. What is
Mhm.
post facto clearance? It was absent in 2006 notification. Now they have given this provision. Post facto clearance. What is it? Even if your project proponent has started the work and now approaching for clearance, environmental clearance, you
Mhm.
should consider it. What does it mean? Actually, when a project proponent want the environmental clearance, he or that particular agency has to call first public hearing. Now,
Right.
if you are going to award post facto clearance to the project, where is the issue of public hearing? There is absolutely no space. Okay,
Right.
that process is already bypassed. Okay, so every project has to go from public hearing, publishing the document, putting it in a public domain, ask for suggestions, grievances, etc. Then you can say the project is in a complete, in a totality. It's very comprehensive. Okay,
Right.
so by giving post facto clearance, you are simply bypassing public participation.
Only. Mhm.
Okay, ignoring public participation. So that's not good.
Mhm.
So what I want to convey to the public that you should you should ask the honorable minister to go with the 2006
Dance.
notification only. That is better. If you want some stringent measures, then you can strengthen it, but not dilute it like this.
Right.
So we have given the suggestions. Let's see if ministry is sensible, they would definitely adopt it.
Right. Right. There's also a message to the viewers that you should look into the EI, that is the Environment Impact Assessment, and what exactly it is, because it is going to be a very crucial point in the coming years. So you will also know what points are mentioned in the draft, and if you want, like Sir said, you can request the government as well for any improvisations or anything you want. Uh, so, Kishore sir, in 2013, the National Board for Wildlife, that which you were a member of, it had sent a two-member team to the proposed Navi Mumbai airport site. And you conducted a survey to check if the project could disturb a neighboring bird sanctuary. This also assumes significance because the EI was involved that we just discussed. So, how was the project handled?
In fact, this is coincidence that yesterday there was a big accident
Yes.
in Kerala with the Air India flight. Okay, 191 passengers were on board, and around 70 people have been killed last night, last evening. Okay, now you should be very careful about the civil aviation and the accidents. When I went to inspect the Navi Mumbai airport, I came across certain facts which were very shocking. First, it was a mangrove area. It's a mangrove area. There is a mangrove forest. Okay. And the adjoining sanctuary is a bird sanctuary. And if then I grabbed the report of civil aviation, and that
Mhm.
report says it's a US United States civil aviation report, and the United States agency is very sensible for such kind of accidents, etc. So that report says that most of the accidents take place during takeoff and landing. So
Okay.
yesterday's accident took place during the landing. Okay, so most of the accidents do not take place during when your flight is in air, but when you are taking off and you are landing, those that time only most of the accidents have occurred.
Hmm.
What are the reasons? The reasons are mostly bird hits. Okay, and when you are building a airport just close to the bird sanctuary, that means your air traffic is vulnerable to succumb to accidents. Okay, so
Right.
that was the second point. Third, you have deers around that particular area. And if some deer come on the airport, so during landing, you can meet with the accident. So these are some of the issues. Then that particular area was the origin of two rivers. So how can we address with this situation? So I asked the project proponent whether you have three alternate, because usually you have to give three alternate sites. So what are the alternate sites? There were 17 alternate sites, but then government was very much insisting on this particular site. So we gave a conditional clearance to on the condition of protecting that mangrove and taking care of the bird hits during landing and takeoff. So with certain conditions we have given that.
I think there's again a network issue. For our viewers, if you have any question you want to ask to Kishore sir, you can comment your question in the YouTube live and it will be asked to sir. So will join with us shortly. Yes, sir has joined.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So that's what about the Navi Mumbai Airport project. So we gave a conditional clearance.
Okay. You were also a member of the subcommittee that was selected to decide whether the bullet train project, which is India's first wildlife overpass project, should be cleared or not. So, what was the decision and how was it handled?
Oh yes, that's something which I must share. Uh, it was not a bullet train project. It was in fact the multimodal corridor, means 8-lane highway connecting Mumbai with Ahmedabad. So that project came first, and that project goes through a very narrow corridor between Sanjay Gandhi National Park and the Tungareshwar Wildlife Sanctuary. So there is a very narrow corridor of 1 kilometer which connects these two protected areas. So we were worried about this connectivity. We want to maintain connectivity so that the wild animal populations can exchange, can have the genetic exchange between these two protected areas. So we said this particular corridor is very crucial, and you cannot simply just go on ground. The committee was set up, and then later on, after multimodal project, we heard that the bullet train is also proposed and going through the same alignment, same area. Because in Mumbai, you don't have much area. You cannot just select A alignment for one project and B alignment from another project. You have to adjust all the alignments, means all the projects in one particular area. So because of the space problems. So this was a narrow corridor and multimodal project came. It's 8-lane highway, you can say, or expressway. And then bullet train. These are not the. When we did the site inspection, we found that there is already a Diwa Panvel railway, existing railway. So that is already causing a problem for the wildlife movements. Okay. And then when I was in the standing committee NBWL, that time dedicated freight corridor project came, and I cleared with the condition that this project, dedicated freight corridor, means it's a goods train, exclusively dedicated railway line laid for carrying goods. Okay. So that I had cleared with the condition that this dedicated freight corridor would go either elevated or underground. Okay. So that project has not come up on ground till today.
Hmm.
So we found that there are several projects coming in one particular area.
Hmm.
So how to do that? We requested multimodal project authority to change the alignment. So they changed the alignment. And then we said, you don't have to go on ground, you have to elevate. So they elevated their project. Then the bullet train came. So they said, no, we cannot go zigzag because it's a high-speed train, high-speed rail. So it has to go straight. Then we again changed the alignment of multimodal project and we said, no, now bullet train requires this alignment. You also share the same alignment. And then when we said that now it's a narrow corridor, you cannot go on ground, you have to elevate. Then multimodal project said, okay, we will go from 8-meter height and bullet train would go from 15-meter height. So that's how we designed a solution which suits to both these agencies. And then we asked the dedicated freight corridor people that you share some amount for the mitigation structure. And it's a 32-meter wide overpass. So it would be first kind of overpass designed near Mumbai, which will be used by wild animals to cross from Sanjay Gandhi National Park to Tungareshwar or Tungareshwar to Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So that's how this solution we have recently given to the government.
Okay, that is a great alternative again to, I mean, the bullet train. Okay, so sir, you were also Narcondam hornbill, which is found only on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and also you rediscovered the forest owlet. So can you share your experience about that?
Yeah, let me tell you about first the forest owlet because
Hmm.
that's something which is very interesting. The whole world was presuming that the bird is already extinct. So even Dr. Salim Ali could not see this bird during his lifespan. So he went to different forest areas in search of this forest owlet, but he could not see it. So Dr.
Hmm.
Salim Ali passed away. So he could not see this bird in his life. And then in 1998, a researcher from US, she came to India and she said the bird is very much there in near Odisha, Chhattisgarh border. So she claimed it. The BBC News came that she discovered this particular bird again, but it was presumed to be extinct. Means
Hmm.
from 1887 onwards, nobody had seen this bird. And in 1998, this lady claimed that this bird is there. So I thought that if this bird is really there, it is not extinct, then I should see the bird in Melghat because Melghat is the ideal habitat of for all the owl species. And I have
Hmm.
spent years in Melghat. So and this bird is diurnal. So during daytime, it is very active. Usually, all the owls are very active during night time, but this
Hmm.
was diurnal, and this was very active during daytime. So I recollected that I usually come across with this bird during daytime because I used to travel a lot in Melghat for carrying out several surveys. So I used to see this bird, but I also presume that this bird is extinct. So this is not the forest owlet; it must be a spotted owlet, Athin Brahma. It is this is
Hmm.
the Athin Heteroglux blewitti, this
Hmm.
forest owlet. So I again went back, I got the pictures and I tallied the entire information with the forest owlet and it was same. So I claimed that this is the forest owlet and this is rediscovered in Melghat Tiger Reserve. Sanctuary magazine published my claim and that's how we rediscovered this bird. Today, the largest population of this bird is found in Melghat Tiger Reserve and this is survived. So thanks to Tiger Reserve, which has also given shelter to one very endangered bird species like forest owlet. Then coming back to your Narcondam hornbill issue, interesting. I was working as a member of in the standing committee in BWL where this proposal came, and the Indian army wanted to erect one infrastructure inside the Narcondam island. Now, let me tell you about Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
Hmm.
There are around 300 islands around Andaman and Nicobar. Okay,
Right.
300 islands. So out of them, one of the tiny island, what is the size? 3 kilometer by 1 kilometer size.
Hmm.
Okay, and nobody stays on this island called Narcondam Island. Nobody
Hmm.
stays. It's a complete dense forest, and there are some bird species like
Huh.
Narcondam, and it's a hornbill. It's a huge bird, and Narcondam hornbill found in only Narcondam Island, not elsewhere in the world.
Hmm.
In no other island you can find this hornbill, this particular species. So we said, if you are going to, even the local tribals, they go on this island and come back uh,
Hmm.
uh, within means during evening. Go in the
Hmm.
morning, come back in the evening. So they don't stay there. And the Indian Army wanted to set up their permanent station. Then they
Hmm.
wanted to have the generator, etc. And they wanted to fell some trees, etc. So we decided not to grant the permission. But as it's a issue of country's security, that comes first, and rest of the issues second. So we definitely agree with this situation that country's security is should have the priority. And species like Narcondam hornbill was equally important for us. So we requested Honorable Minister to consider it, but by that time our tenure was terminated, finished, and then next standing committee NBWL came. So we requested again to the Honorable Forest Minister, and thanks to Mr. Javadekar, who listened to our voice and did not give permission to that particular project. So Narcondam hornbill is saved now.
Yes, I guess both the birds are, I guess, mostly found in India,
Yeah.
and of course the Andaman, that is part.
Yes.
That is great.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, like we now know that you have worked for tiger conservation a lot, more than I guess 30 years. You have worked for that one mission, and in a number of interviews, you have also said that tiger conservation is related to environment conservation. I think you had raised that issue in the TED talk as well. So how do you relate the two, Kishore sir? I think we have lost him again. Uh, he will be back with us shortly. And in the meantime, the viewers, please do ask any question you have. You want to get answered by sir. Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So, as I was saying that you have worked for tiger conservation for over 30 years now, and in a number of interviews as well, you have said that tiger conservation is related to environment conservation, and you even raised the issue in the tech talks. So, how do you relate the two?
See, when you talk about tiger conservation, it's actually saving forest, because without forest habitat, you cannot think of saving tigers. So tigers need forest shelter. Okay, so for saving tigers, you need to save their prey base like cheetal, sambar, gaur, etc. If you want to have that kind of those kind of species in a forest, then they require different floral composition. So that means you need to conserve flora and fauna both to to save the tigers in a particular habitat. Okay. Now, when you want this kind of species in your forest area, the forest must have the good perennial rivers. Okay,
Hmm.
because wild animals cannot live without water.
Right.
So they require rivers. Now, if there is a good dense forest, good forest density, that kind of forest can only keep your streams alive for rest of the non-monsoon months. Okay, because
Right.
we have rains during only monsoon months, means for 2 or 3 months. But we
Right.
have to retain water for next 9 months,
Right.
and that forest composition only decides the perenniality of the water streams or the drainages. Okay, so in short, you can say that the wherever you have the tiger bearing areas, you can see that there are rivers and perennial rivers or streams. Okay,
Hmm.
if there are elephants, then elephants require huge number of means good amount of water. So river Krishna or Godavari. So you can expect the elephants over there. So for these kind of species or the wild animals, you require those kind of rivers. And all the rivers of these countries, they originate through in the forest areas and wildlife habitats. Okay. So you cannot just isolate wild animals, wildlife or tigers from the human development. So ultimately, human development is not possible without water, without oxygen, without climate, without you can say pest controllers. There are n number of insects which are the best pest controllers. If they are absent, then you will have to totally depend upon insecticides and pesticides. And that's how means even farmers are committing suicides, because cost benefit ratio is very bad in agriculture sector. So we have to depend more upon nature and their ecosystem services. So all these forest areas or the tiger habitats, we have around 50 tiger reserves in India. So
Hmm.
all these 50 tiger reserves, they are not only providing shelter to tiger, but they are also source of many rivers which are actually responsible for bringing prosperity in your agriculture sector, industrial sector, etc. Okay, the entire river network of the country is depend upon these tiger habitats and around 850 sanctuaries and national parks. So I always call them green temples of the country. So we have to protect our protected areas like sanctuaries, national parks, tiger reserves, not for only tigers, but for
Hmm.
giving shelter to different species and for providing water and other ecosystem services for the economic as well as ecological development of the country. So that's what I that's where I come from, and I adopt this philosophy. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, we have a time constraint, so we'll be taking a question from the audience. The question is, sir, have you ever worked in the area of Dakshalites? I think
Yeah.
sir will have a good story for that.
देखो, means I will tell you one story. Means I wanted to see wild buffaloes.
Hmm.
हमारे देश में जो मिल्क प्रोडक्शन है, वो मिल्क प्रोडक्शन अगर आपको सस्टेनेबल बेसिस पे चाहिए, तो यू हैव टू प्रोटेक्ट बफेलोज. Now, if
Oh.
tomorrow something happens to your buffaloes and all buffaloes dies, then what will happen? So ultimately, the source of every domestic animal and every domestic species variety like rice, there is devdan. जंगल में
Hmm.
जाओ तो देवधान मिलेगा. So wild variety है. Cotton, there is a wild cotton. Tuar, wild tuar. So all these species have come from the forest area. Okay, so that's one thing you have to understand. So I wanted to see wild buffaloes in Gadchiroli district. So I was doing the survey of wild buffaloes. So it's very means difficult, because you have to see the hoof marks, their
Hmm.
or you have to see the dung, and then you should be able to discriminate between the dung of a wild buffalo and dung of a
Hmm.
domestic buffalo, because means in India you won't find a forest patch where you won't have village. So there are villages and there are domestic buffaloes also, so they mix up. So we had learned this key and we were doing survey in the Gadchiroli district. And I was told that it's very dangerous, you should not go there. So most of the forest officers I met there, they said, no, no, hum nahi aayenge aapke saath, aap jaiye. And then finally I said, okay, I stayed at the range officer's quarter for two days. And I established my relations with the local informers, and there is a system, means message actually goes to the next slides, means who have come in the area, etc. Nothing is hidden. But I was honest in my work, so people, and I was mixing up with people, so the message went to next slides. Must have gone to the next slide. So because nothing has happened to us, and we worked in that area, but lot of I mean illegal activities like tree felling and hunting, community hunting, etc., haka, so they were all going on in the area. So local villagers used to wander in the entire forest area, but not forest department and police department. So we surveyed in the area for 4 years, and once we came across with Naxalites, and I stopped the jeep because I used to park my gypsy in the campus of forest officer and take his Khatara jeep and drive it, because those jeep numbers were allowed to go in the forest area. But if any outsider's vehicle comes in, then that's very dangerous. So we used to park our vehicle in the forest department's guest house, and then we go in the Khatara jeep. So I stopped the jeep the moment we saw Naxalites. But then my informer said, "Sir, यहाँ रुकना नहीं, निकलो जल्दी." So we just left the site. So we were determined to work on wild buffalo and not worried about anything, because we had decided that even if we meet Naxalites, we will tell that we want to save this animal. That's it. No other interest. So I worked in the Naxal area for 4 years.
Oh, that was quite an experience for you. There's another question from the audience. It is a lot of people must have noticed that due to the lockdown, it has made a positive impact on the environment. Like the nature is healing itself. We must have seen that due to the shutdown of all industries, there is less air pollution, there's less water pollution, and all other sorts. But eventually, when the lockdown will be lifted, the pollution may increase again. So how should the public follow to reduce pollution and continue the environment that is in the lockdown?
Yeah, I read a lot of articles, and a lot of people have this notion that now we are going to, in fact, going to retain this situation, because today it is really, means after, due to COVID pandemic, there are a lot of restrictions on movements and development, and that's why you feel like a cleaner environment, safer environment, etc. But how long it will continue? I doubt. Once the industries start functioning the same, then the sewage water goes in the clean rivers. The polluted water from the industries, they get mixed up in the natural drainages or natural rivers, etc. So it again continues, and then means back to square one. I don't believe in this kind of temporary arrangement unless there is a deeper understanding in the entire society. Whosoever is setting up the factory or the company, he should be more sensible to the environmental issues. So now I think COVID-19 has taught a huge lesson to the entire world, and if we do not introspect now, we have got ample time now. So we should really need to think and think for the betterment of the environment, and stop doing all the bad things which were causing harm to the environment. But it's very sad that still I read the news that now, instead of promoting this solar and solar, wind, hydel, etc. energy, we are still again issuing leases for the coal mines. Okay, so coal, we should go away from the coal, because for climate change crisis, coal is responsible. The carbon emission is responsible. So to address the climate change situation, which is again the bigger crisis just like COVID-19 pandemic. So we should really address that situation, and we should go away from coal. We should adopt the wind and solar and other non-conventional energy sources. But again, if government is sticking to the previous traditional conventional ways, I think again we will harming the climate change. That's a bigger crisis. Um, uh, I मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. So I was in Australia, and I was listening to the speech of one of minister from the country, small tiny country near Maldives, New Papua Guinea, and that minister, while giving speech, he broke and he started crying. So he said, I cannot return back to my country because my country is going to submerge. I need to relocate my country. Can any country come forward and provide land to resettle my citizens? So we were really shocked to hear that kind of appeal, that some of the countries on this mother earth, they are going to submerge due to climate change. And you are talking about no, हम लोग और 10-20 साल चला लेंगे, हम coal से, we cannot go away from coal, we will continue releasing carbon emissions. So that's something which is very serious, very dangerous, and the whole world, including developing country like India, though we cannot afford, we have to go away from the, and thanks to this government that they have definitely adopted a policy to go away from coal, but things should transform actually on ground.
Right. I guess you are very correct that climate change is happening, and our viewers should also make note of this, that you should try to do your best on your personal level. And if everyone does that, one day we will overcome this climate change. And it is not for us, but the generations to come, because they will be the most affected. So I think if we start now, we can all together overcome this climate change. There's another question from the audience. How can we combine conservation with economic development to generate jobs in backward area? Are there any such ongoing projects? So can you, sir, tell this about this in brief?
Yeah. See, yesterday, during the meeting, I said we had given permission to clearance to notify one sanctuary in Vidarbha. It's called Kanhargaon, and there most of the area of the sanctuary has been handed over to one developmental corporation, Forest Development Corporation of Maharashtra, and they actually bring down the density because their criteria is you can plant the trees in an area where there is less density. Okay, so first of all, and the dense forest has been handed over to this corporation. So what they do to satisfy their criteria, first of all, they bring down the density of the area. So they cut the forest. Okay, once the density is below 0.5, etc., then they plant the forest. So I told the Honorable Chief and we should declare this sanctuary. So I told you this example because what was your question? I forget about your question.
The question was that how can you relate conservation and economic development to generate jobs in backward area?
Yes, understood. Why I give you this example? Because we dream that if this Kanhargaon sanctuary takes place, then ultimately it's a source of giving jobs to local people. Today, what is the situation? Most of you go to any village, the youth will be sitting on one tapri, pan tapri pe khada reh ke, kuch nahi. The whole day he will be just sitting over there and thinking about मुझे 200 रुपए कौन देगा. So if some tiger poacher goes and pays him 500 rupees, he will kill the tiger. Okay, exactly. So that kind of, and I have actually I have interrogated a lot of poachers and they said 500 रुपए के लिए किया साहब. So they don't understood what they are doing, why they are doing. So I had decided to provide them jobs. And see, if you take the scenario 10 years back in Vidarbha region, people used to hate tigers because that was not giving employment. And they loved coal mining, etc., because that was giving jobs to people. So we have today stopped coal mining in most of the area, and Tiger Reserve has given jobs of tour guides, then gypsy drivers, then hospitality management, and we have provided jobs to around 2,500 people around Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. Okay, very close to this Kanargaon. And we took Kanargaon youths to see how they got the employment, how the local youths around Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve got the employment through tiger conservation. Okay, so I dream that if this kind of situation is coming in the entire Vidarbha, because we are having 5 tiger reserves in Vidarbha landscape out of total 6 tiger reserves in Maharashtra. And all these 5 tiger reserves have started giving employment to people. So 2,500 youths are directly appointed, employed in and around Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. Around 500 to 600 youths got jobs in Page Tiger Reserve. And I want many people go to Kenya and see wildlife over there. What is there? Even private people, means the farmers, have converted their agriculture lands into wildlife habitats. And you don't need to go to the government sanctuary or a national park. You need to go to the private person, stay in his homestay and enjoy the wildlife which is in the private land. You don't need to go to the government. So we want to see this kind of nature conservancies in the Vidarbha landscape on the private areas where people won't feel tiger or wild animals raiding their crops, and they won't be worried about raiding their crops. They would be rather inviting these wild animals to come and visit their agriculture lands, so that tourists get benefited. Tourists get see the animals and give him more money than what he draws from the agricultural practices. Okay, so we see the entire landscape would be conserved and transferred into the wildlife habitats, and it will definitely bring money, just like Kenya model. So that's our dream. Means conservation can really provide employment to local youths. That is already proved in Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. See, when we started this model in Tadoba, that time our revenue was just few lakhs. Today the revenue of only one tiger reserve in Vidarbha, Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve, is around 7 crore rupees. So 7 crore rupees, and not only money. We have deployed around 2,000 jobs. We have given jobs to around 2,500 people. By tiger conservation, they are not going and cutting the forest. So by just showing tiger to the international and national tourists, they are earning their jobs. So that's what our dream is.
Yes, I think quite great answered the question of the audience. I think we have learned a lot today about environment, wildlife, and mainly tigers, and how all these are important, not only in India, but in the whole world. And I'm sure that our audience have learned a great deal from Mr. Kishor Rithe. And it has been an honor for me and the SWND committee to have you as our guest speaker today. And thank you so much, sir, for taking time from your busy schedule and educating all of us. And I also thank all our viewers for attending this webinar. Sir, is there anything you'd like to say to our youth and viewers?
See, one thing I would like to say, especially to our students, that there are a lot of internship programs with the non-government organizations. So don't look at these internship programs as giving you some economic incentives, because they are poorly funded. The non-government organizations in India, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ पे मंदिर के लिए पैसा देंगे लोग, मंदिर, मस्जिद, गुरुद्वारा, इसके लिए, चर्चेस, इसके लिए पैसा देंगे, लेकिन वाइल्ड लाइफ कंजर्वेशन के लिए या इस टाइप के वर्क के लिए पैसे नहीं देते. So what I would like to, so don't expect money from non-government organizations, but they would give you richer experience. So join their internship programs, and even if you don't get any facility, etc., go and camp in the forest area and see their work, how they are catering education to formal education, informal education to students, how they are addressing the issues, because you will become engineer and you will be serving in some factory or some company. If you are IT professional, you will work in abroad or means in IT sector. But you need to understand the problems this country is facing. Once you go abroad, you don't realize them. So
Right.
you need to right now grab the time, and this is the high time when especially the students of second year and third year, they should spend their time, join some internship program, work for 1 month, 2 months, whatever maximum is possible for you. And there are wonderful programs. So we can't accommodate more number of students, but we can definitely accommodate 3, 4, 5, 10 people, and you can grab that opportunity. So I would urge you to join internship programs available with the non-government organization. Satpuda Foundation definitely has got the internship program, so you can apply for that. Yeah.
Yes, I think if somebody wishes to work with a purpose and dedication, so he will be satisfied with the work he's done, and he'll not worry about how much he's getting paid. I think which was your inspiration as well, sir.
Thank you.
So yes, I guess we can conclude today's webinar. And thank you so much, sir, once again for joining us. And if the audience still wishes to ask any question, you are welcome to mail us, and we can surely forward it to sir and get those answered. So I think we can conclude today's webinar. So thank
Thank
you all.
you. Thank you. But sorry for interruption, and
No,
sorry for very poor internet
no,
connection
no
today.
problem at all, sir. I think that technical issues everyone is experiencing.